let's talk about Cinderella. Alright, I think one of the false impressions I had of this character before watching the original 1950 film was that she is extraordinarily kind. But then after watching the original and becoming familiar with Cinderella's true personality, I think her kindness is a normal average quality. Like a normal average amount. People will make it seem as though she is so kind. There is no way for her to be human. But I think that in reality, what makes her seem so unbelievably kind and open-hearted is her obedience and childlike ignorance. Though she is not entirely ignorant, okay? She just possesses an impressive tolerance for ignorance, which allows for her to overlook the undesirable aspects of life and choose to be a bit more optimistic with her perspective. I think in her heart, she is still a child that has only her dreams to rely on for faith and a hopeful future. She is actually quite outspoken and feisty. She is maternal, and naturally this brings out her need to be protective of the things that are defenseless against cruelty. Personally, I don't believe there is anything about Cinderella that is magical or majestic, except her belief that dreams can come true. From an actor's perspective, I think she may be one of the most overrated and glorified characters. And I mean that in the most humble and respectful way. I think she is presented as this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity due to the fairy tale characteristic of her character development, and I think Cinderella is very grounded and rooted in her own humility, that I think sometimes we tend to dehumanize this character who is extremely wholesome and anchored to her emotions, just to advocate for kindness that is completely unrealistic in reality. Maybe there is a difference, okay, between being kind and knowing when to hold your tongue, treating someone as you would like to be treated and choosing not to react or respond. To blatant disrespect are not really the same thing, in my opinion. I think Cinderella does both, okay, because she has an awareness of when she is being provoked. And I simply think she, in her nature, excuse me, is just not a confrontational person. I think it's not in her nature to entertain, create, or really combat conflict. I think she is a free-spirited energy that is gifted with an internal song of harmony. And I feel this is how she's able to maintain her peace, but there are moments when you can tell she has a desire to express herself because she will not hesitate to reason. And find a common ground where she can experience something her heart desires while also maintaining and committing to her responsibilities. People complain about the prince saving her, but I feel that we could be misinterpreting the purpose of the story. Cinderella has absolutely no idea of how her dreams would come true or how she could live a life different than the one she had. But she was patient, and patience is truly where her extraordinary quality comes from, in my opinion. Anyone can show kindness and anyone can choose their words wisely, but it takes an incalculable amount of patience to not completely abandon hope when every day you wake up it seems like yesterday all over again. It was timing and her ability to have faith in the concept of there being a right time. By way of divine intervention, okay, she was able to, see that patience and stillness can create miracles out of what seems like nowhere. I think Cinderella is no more or less selfless than the average human being, and I think romanticizing and praising her behavior more than is genuinely deserved can set unrealistic standards for what is decent human behavior and also manifest hypocrisy, because Cinderella was thinking just as much about herself as she was the world around her. Dreaming in any fashion, whether daytime or nighttime, can be considered thinking about yourself because you are placing less focus and attention on what is happening in reality. And to add on, not only was she daydreaming and fantasizing during her slumber, she would feed those daydreams and fantasies energetically by believing in them and allowing them to be where she escapes to when her world proves itself to be similar to a nightmare, time after time. So ultimately, I believe this story is deeply substantial when our main character is not being romanticized and praised for having a significantly excessive amount of decency than she or any human being has in reality. I think Cinderella's story is most effective and influential when she is seen as a dreamer rather than a damsel in distress with more kindness than is true to reality.